You wake up. The sun is out. Nothing is broken. Nobody is hurt. The house is quiet. And yet, there it is. That feeling, sitting in your chest like a stone you can't put down, like the universe is about to drop something on you and it just hasn't yet. You check your phone. Nothing alarming. You run through the list. Work, family, money, health, and nothing jumps out. Everything seems fine. But fine doesn't feel fine. And here's what nobody tells you about that feeling. It's not random. It's not weakness, and it is absolutely not in your head. There's a name for this. Psychologists call it free-floating anxiety, and it affects millions of people who have no idea what's actually driving it. It's not the same as worrying about something specific. It doesn't attach to a single problem you can solve and move on from. Instead, it floats, it drifts, it settles over everything like fog you can't burn off. You might spend years thinking something is fundamentally wrong with you, when in reality, your brain is doing something it was literally built to do. The problem isn't that your mind is broken. The problem is that your mind is running a very old program in a world it wasn't designed for. Let me show you exactly what this looks like, and more importantly, why it won't stop on its own without understanding the root of it. Your brain has a threat detection system. Neuroscientists call it the amygdala, but you can think of it as your internal alarm bell. In ancient times, this system kept humans alive. You'd hear a rustle in the trees, the alarm fires, your body floods with adrenaline, you run or you fight. The rustle turns out to be wind? Fine. The alarm resets. Crisis over. But here's where modern life breaks something fundamental in that system. Today, the threats aren't tigers, they're emails that haven't been answered. They're a friend who's been a little distant lately. They're a bill, a decision, a conversation you keep putting off. These aren't life or death, but your brain doesn't know that. To your amygdala, uncertainty looks like danger. Ambiguity looks like danger. Silence looks like something gathering before it strikes. So the alarm stays on. Not blaring, just humming, constantly, in the background of everything. And after a while, that hum becomes your normal. You stop noticing it consciously, but your body never stops responding to it. Now, who does this happen to most? Research points to a few consistent patterns. People with highly sensitive nervous systems, sometimes called HSPs or highly sensitive people, process sensory and emotional information more deeply than average. They pick up on subtle shifts in mood, energy, and environment that most people miss entirely. That gift becomes a burden when the world is too loud, too unpredictable, and too much. Then there are people who grew up in environments where things were unpredictable, where the emotional weather at home could shift without warning, where love came with conditions, or silence before storms. Those children learned to scan, constantly. Their brains developed a hair-trigger threat response because in that environment it was genuinely useful. The tragedy, they carry that scanner into adulthood, into safe situations, into good relationships, into mornings where nothing is wrong. And the scanner keeps scanning anyway, because nobody told it the war was over. Here's what makes this particularly stubborn. When you feel that something is wrong feeling, your mind doesn't just sit with it, it goes looking for a reason. Because anxiety needs an object. The mind is uncomfortable with undirected dread, so it latches onto the nearest available thing and makes it the problem. Suddenly, it's your relationship, or your career, or your health. You start analyzing, questioning, picking apart things that 10 minutes ago were perfectly fine. And sometimes, you actually find something, a real crack, a legitimate concern. So you feel validated. Your anxiety was right. Something was wrong. Except it wasn't the thing causing the anxiety. The anxiety came first. It just needed somewhere to live. This is why people can fix the problem, clear the crisis, resolve the conflict, and still feel exactly the same way an hour later, because the source wasn't the situation. The source is inside. So what do you actually do with this? First, recognize that the feeling is data, not prophecy. It is telling you about your nervous system's state, not about what's coming. Second, stop trying to think your way out of it. Free-floating anxiety lives in the body, not just in the mind, and thinking harder about it is like trying to calm an alarm bell by reading the manual. What actually reaches it? Breath, specifically slow, extended exhales that activate your parasympathetic nervous system. Movement, cold water, any sensation that reminds your body it is here, it is safe, and this moment is not a threat. Third, learn your triggers, not the surface ones, the deep ones, the subtle environmental cues, a certain tone of voice, an unopened message, a crowded room, that activate that old scanner. Because once you can see the trigger, you're no longer ambushed by it. You become someone who understands the machinery instead of just being pulled along by it. And fourth, if this has been with you for years, if it runs deep, if it threads through your relationships, in your work, in your sleep, please don't try to solve it alone. A good therapist who understands the nervous system is not a luxury. It's arguably the most efficient investment you can make in the quality of every single day. That feeling, that low hum, that unnamed dread is not a character flaw. It is a wound that learned to be invisible. And wounds that stay invisible can't heal. If this video named something you've been living with but couldn't describe, share it with someone who might need to hear it too. And if you want to go deeper into how your mind actually works and how to work with it instead of against it, stick around. That's exactly what this channel is here for.